where something is increasing overwhelmingly. That is also known as SYANDHANA. So these words, these etymological aspects of the word definitely will be of some help in deciphering a clinical situation. So what is it all about? Something is getting into a state very near to softening, which is becoming unstable, along with an increase in bulk, and which is taking it to a level of oozing, trickling. So all these shades of meaning can be incorporated while we talk about Abhishyanda. Something is getting into a state which is very near to softening, which has become unstable, there is an increase in the bulk, and which is almost near the level of oozing. So what is that something? That is the key point. We are saying that something is reaching to that level. What is that something? That is where we require some sort of a very basic, the fundamental understanding about our Sharira and the Sharira as it is conceived in Ayurveda. Whenever I say that, okay, I am going to talk about Sharira, I have faced certain comments that you see Ayurveda cannot have a different Sharira from modern medicine. Because we are talking about the same Sharira, how can you have a modern Sharira and Ayurveda Sharira? But the fact is, yes, Ayurveda has got a different Sharira. Because fundamentally, the way in which the idea of Sharira is conceived, that is the fundamental difference between systems. How Ayurveda conceives the idea of Sharira is what makes Ayurveda unique, or what makes the concept of Sharira in modern medicine is what makes modern medicine unique. It may be different in Yoga Shastra, it may be different in Tantra. So every school is having a very unique idea of Sharira. So here we have certain basic things like Tasya Purushasya Prithvi Murti. That is how we are incorporating the Panchabhutas into our Sharira. And it is these basic units called the Panchabhutas are later getting rewritten, evolved as Tridoshas. So whenever we are talking about the very basic format of Sharira, we think more about Panchabhutas. In Garbhashariram, we see more about Panchabhuta, not about Tridosha, isn't it? In the Garbhasharira. So, Tasya Purushasya Prithivi Murti, Apaha Kledaha, Tejaha Abhisandapaha, Vayuhu Pranaha, Viyat Sushirani, Brahma Antaratma. And taking two things primarily from that, Prithvi Murti and Apaha Kledaha. Later, we developed the concept of Shleshma, Prithvi Jalabhyam Shleshma. And that Shleshma is Snehasvarupa. Snehasvarupa. And because of this Snehasvarupa, Shleshma, Prithvi Jala becoming the basic substratum of Sharira, we should understand that Snehasaro Ayam Purusha. Snehasaro Ayam Purusha. This is again one fundamental idea in Ayurveda about Sharira. Snehasaro Ayam Purusha. Prithvi plus Jala forms the Sneha, forms the Shleshma. This is the something which is getting afflicted. This Snehasara Sharira is what is getting afflicted in the mechanism of Abhishyanda. We will see something more about it. When we talk about Shleshma, Shleshma is explained as having Snigdha Shito Gurur Manda Slakshno Mritsna Sthira Kapaha. This is very, very important. Snigdhata, Shitata and Sthirata. Snigdhata, Shitata and Sthirata. Shleshma is going to be decisive as far as the sthirata, sustenance or the capacity to sustain sharira is concerned. Sthirata. Now, in taking the idea of Abhishyanda from an entirely different perspective, from Charnadhara Samhita, Charnadhara Acharya explains what an Abhishyandi Dravya is. So the term used is same. So obviously there should be some sort of a similarity. Otherwise it is immaterial to bring that idea here. So here we find Paichilyad Gauravad Dravyam Ruthva Rasavaha Siraha Dhatte Yad Gauravam Tat Syad Abhishyandi Yatha Dadhi. Dadhi is given as the example. The mechanism is explained otherwise. Paichilya Dravyam Viruddhva Rasavaha Siraha. This is one crucial criteria, characteristic of an Abhishyandi Dravya. It causes Srodo Rodham. Especially, basically, Rasavahasrodo Rodham. Rasavahasrodo Tushti. So that is known as Abhishyandi Yatha Dadhi. Now, see some clinical situations. We find this shloka from Jvarachikitsa. I am not restricting myself to Shalakya because the concept of Abhishyanda is all pervasive. It is not limited to Netra Chikitsa. See, in this Jvara Chikitsa situation, we find Shleshma Abhishyanna Dehanam Ada Praga Viyojayed Yushan Kulaktha Chanaga Kalayadi Kridan Lakhun Rukshan Tiktarasopedan Hridyan Rujikaran Padun. So here that which I have put in red, Shleshma Bhishyanna Dehanam, for those Jvara patients who has Shleshma Bhishyanna Deha, Deha Sharira which has gone through a stage of Shleshma Bhishyandam. In such Jvara patients, you go for Yusha, made out of Kulatha, Chanaga, Kalaya, etc., many things. Now at this point, you can find Arunadatta explaining the term Abhishyanna Dehanam. Abhishyana idi Abhipurvad Syandehe Sravanartho Vitpaditaha Shleshmana Sruti Rupena Eva Abhishyannaha Klinna Iva. That is also a very crucial observation, important observation, very enlightening observation. Abhishyannaha Klinna Iva. So something which has gone through a stage of morbid kleda is what is known as Abhishyana in this context. A morbid kleda. Kleda is nothing but a sneha swarupa. Kleda is also a sneha. But the problem is that kleda need not be always Shuddha sneha. Kleda can be Shuddha sneha at one point, but kleda need not be, because all the kleda forms or sneha forms of mala, which is formed as a product of dhatu parinama, is also poured into the pool of kleda in the sharira. So it is also getting continuously, it is also getting samala, and body is always trying its level best to remove this mala portion from the kleda pool, and that is why what we call as vaimalya or nairmalya, which is considered as arogya. When that system fails, body is samala and we are going to retire from life. Not from job, but from life. So that klinna iva is very crucial. It can be sarvadaihika, it can be pradeshika, which we will see in detail. So this is one clinical situation. Now see, this is in Chara Vidhi. While explaining the Chara Vidhi, there are some preparatory things that you have to do. What is that? Nirvabhayetada sajyaihi swadushidahi pradehayed abhishyandini bhodyani kledanayacha. Before applying Chara, the body should be subjected therapeutically, should be brought to a stage of Abhishyanda, a process of Kledana. That is to protect the body from the potential hard or hazardous effect of the Chara. So there is a Abhishyanda therapeutically produced. For that, Abhishyandini bhodyani. The patient should be fed with Abhishyanda bhodya like dadhi or whatever it is. Then Aruna Datta explains the term Abhishyandini. What is that? Abhishyandini Sruti Rupa Sleshmakarini Bhodyani Annapanani Masha Dadhi Adini. I am giving this or bringing these points to make a broad idea or a complete idea about what this Abhishyanda all about. Here we find Sruti Rupa Sleshma Karini. So here we are therapeutically bringing it. In the pathology, it happens because of the influence of the Nidana. Because of the influence of the Nidana, it is happening, which is going or making the body departed from the normal state, and the Vaidhya is trying to bring it back to track. So this is the point what we have to address. This is the thing which we are going to address. Now, again, very basics to understand the concept of Abhishyanda. All the Saumya Dhadus are Sleshma Ashrayas. Tatrasthani Sthido Vayu. I am talking about Sutrasthana. Tatrasthani Sthido Vayu. Pittam tu Sleshma Rektayoho. Sleshma Shesheshu. Sleshma is in all the remaining. That means Asti is excluded, Sweda is excluded, Rekta is excluded. In all the remaining dhadus, they are forming the ashraya of Sleshma. Rasa, Mamsa, Medas, Majja and Sukra. In all these ashrayas, Sleshma dwells with appropriate grades of Snigdha, Shida, Sthira gunas. The three prime characters of Sleshma, Snigdha, Shita and Sthira. All these dhadus, we find these three gunas distributed in a particular patterns, very specific patterns of distribution. Rakta and Asti are exceptions. They are also Snigdha. In Sharira there is no Ruksha dhadu. In Sharira there is no Ruksha dhadu. All dhadus are Ruksha. But the gradation of Snigdhada is different. In Asti, Snigdhada is closely incorporated with the Gharata, so as to give that capacity to hold the body, Dharana. So it is an exceptional state where Snigdhada is supported by Gharata. In Netra we find it, isn't it? In that, while we consider the globe, the Netra Budbudam, that shape is maintained by a representation of Asti only, where Snigdhada is getting in close contact or association with the Ghara property. So that is Vadasthan. Now, our area of more interest is what is happening to Rakta. We saw that all the Saumya Dhadus are Sleshmasthana, Asti, exceptionally Snigdhada with the Gharata, and Rakta is one dhadu which is kept apart from the mainstream. We have to understand his nature or its nature. This Rakta Dhatu, yes.
Sir, please, sir, with Sleshma, which structure you are considering, whether it is dosa or Sleshma? What is the
Dosha.
dosha?
Dosha.
Sir, while we are considering dosa as a Sleshma, so kapha is a mala of rasa.
That is not dosha. That is mala.
Kapha is produced from rasa dhatu.
No.
No. Kapha is produced as per the classical principles. Kapha produced from rasa dhatu. Pitta produced from rakta dhatu.
That is what I am saying, that Kabha and Pitta are not dosha rupa.
Sleshma is dependent upon the rasa.
See, first listen to me, let me complete. What you are saying as the Pitta, Kabha and Pitta are not dosha rupa Kabha and Pitta. They are mala rupa Kabha and Pitta. That means Kabha Pitta Malagheshu Prasvedo Nakharo Macha Sleshma Chitva Visamojo Dhadunam Kramasho Mala. That is the sloka what you are saying. That is what you are referring as the text. There, the Kabha and Pitta are not the dosha rupa Kabha and Pitta. They are mala rupa Kabha and Pitta. That mala rupa Kabha and Pitta, which is corresponding to the rasa and rakta, they are responsible for pathologies like Ashmari. Ashmashrayat Sarvasyad, that in the formation of Ashmari, that mala rupa Kabha is participating, which is a rasamala. Similarly, you can find Pitta, Rektamala as Pitta, which is again causing the different types of colors and everything in a pathological process. What I am saying is the Kabharupa dosha, which is nothing but the functional evolution of Prithvi and Jala. Right. I hope by the time I complete the presentation, you will have a better idea. So let the session complete.
Now I request all the participants, please write your doubts and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of this discussion.
Yeah, because I think once the presentation is complete, many of the Purva Pakshas will be getting cleared. So good that one slide created one Jijnasa, and the Shastra Shaili in the Ashtanga way at least is that one presentation gives a Jijnasa, but the very next sloka will be clearing that Jijnasa. So I think that will be nice to listen first. Okay. So now coming to Rekta, though it is Drava and Snigdha, so Dravada and Snigdha is there in Rekta, but still we do not find this Rekta as included as a Shleshmasthana directly. See, when you look at the Shleshmasthana in the Samhitas, we find Urakandha Shirakloma Parvanyamashyo Rasaha Medo Ghranamja Jihvaja Kabhasya Sutaram Uraha. So we don't find Rekta directly specified here, even though it is having the Drava and the Snigdha properties. So that is very interesting, because that is how we are going to understand the Rekta. This Rekta is special for many reasons. We find this Rekta as designated as a Pittasthana. We will find it as a Pittasthana. But at the same time, the general agreement about Rekta among authors is that it is Anushna. So a Pittasthana which is Anushna. That is really very interesting. In the Sharira, you will not find such a situation anywhere else, which is Anushna but still Pittasthana. This is because Agni and Jala coexist in Rekta. Agni and Jala coexist in Rekta. That is the very unique nature of Rekta. This is very, very important for survival also. In the Sushruta Samhita, we find Sakhallu Apyo Rasaha. Apyaha Rasaha Yagrit Plihanau Prapya Ragamupaidi Ranjitas Tejasa tu apaha sharirasthena dehinam avyapanna prasannena raktam iti abhidhiyate. So sharirasthena prasannena tejasa ranjita apaha. Tejasa ranjitaha apaha. Up jala which is ranjita by tejas. That is the beauty of rakta. That is known as raktamiti abhidhiyate. This is a very unique nature of rakta, and that is what we call as agni shomiyata. Actually, that agni shomiyata is an Upanishadic word which we find in Upanishads. Agni shomiyata. That means where Agni and Soma reside, coexist. Here the residence is the Soma and the Agni is the resident. In the Apya Rasa, which is the residence, Tejas comes and stays. So they are opposing principles actually. Agni and Jala are opposing principles. But for the sake of survival, they coexist. They decide to complement each other to make the life possible. And that particular potential of Rakta makes it the right candidate to deliver the function of Jivana. Jivana means to survive. Agni Shomiyata is existence. Pitta and Shleshma in Rakta complement and control each other. They control each other and they complement each other. This is a unique picture of Rakta which makes life possible. So if that makes the life possible, any challenge to this Agni Shomiyata is a challenge to life. It can create a threat. And as far as Rakta is concerned, it is well known that Tad Pitta Shleshmalaihi Prayo Dushyate. Tad Pitta Shleshmalaihi Prayo Dushyate. So when there is a presence of or a murchana of Kapha Pitta Vardhaga Nidana with Rakta, this balance, this complementary nature of Pitta and Kapha, that means Agni and Soma are challenged, and if it is disrupted, the honeymoon is over, troubles start. So that is where the destabilizing mechanism is operating. Destabilizing mechanism of the buffer of the Agni Shomiyata is going to happen. And what will be the outcome? There will be an interaction between Ushna Guna of Pitta with the Snigdha Guna of Shleshma. Ushna of Pitta with the Snigdhata of Shleshma. And what happens? Vilayana happens. Vilayana. Vilayana is a representation of Asthairya. So what happens? The Sthairya of the Shleshma is challenged. It becomes Asthira. It becomes Asthira. This Asthira Shleshma, as the Sthairya is lost, it softens and it increases in bulk. It swells up and it reaches a stage which can be considered as on the verge of oozing. A Sthira Shleshma, which was giving stability to the Sharira or to the structure, is now softened because of the presence, the morbid interaction between Ushna Guna and now it is on the verge of oozing, and also it bulks up. And this in the Sharira can cause many diseases. Depending upon the sthana, it can create many diseases. That is why this change is very, very important. We find certain things, if you look at Charaka Samhita, apart from all the diseases mentioned by name and otherwise, we find a chapter called Trishobhiyam, where you will find many diseases explained as a stage or a form of Shobha. And this Shobha is actually a presence of this Asthira Shleshma interacted with different levels and forms of Vayu and Pitta. Asthira Shleshma is the basic material operating behind all sorts of Shobha. Pandu, Shobha, Visarpa, Raktapitta, Prameha, Vidradhi, Vadarakta. You can find many other, in Shalakya we find many diseases which are basically regarded as Shobha. You take the Mukharogas, you take Vartmarogas, or you take any other major diseases explained in the Shalakya, they are all fundamentally Shobha Swarupas. So there is a potential operation of Asthira Shleshma, which is interacting with Ushna Pitta and thrown away to get settled in different sthanas by Vayu. So same Samprapti forming many diseases. Some examples are given. Pandu, Shobha, Visarpa. It is because of this commonality of Samprapti. And in the Netra, in general, it is known as Abhishyanda. So this understanding is very important while we manage Abhishyanda from a complete perspective. Locally we may be doing many other things. We may be doing a Anushastra Karma or a Shastra Karma or a Lekhana Karma or whatever it is to deal with the situation locally. But from a total perspective, this is what is happening in the manifestation of all Abhishyandas. So Abhishyanda is a state evolved in Rakta primarily, happening in Srotasas, wherein the coexistence of Pitta and Kapha is disturbed, resulting in softening potential when we consider Abhishyanda as a Samprapti. Abhishyanda as a Roga in Netra Chikitsa is nothing but specifically designated with a name. There also the mechanism is not different. But if we have to treat that Abhishyanda from a total perspective, this idea should be there in our mind, which will help us in precision prescriptions and precision interventions. Now, any nidana which can cause a disturbance in the Pitta Kapha balance in Rakta can initiate an Abhishyanda. Any nidana. We find many nidanas. We can find some examples. This is one. Tad Pitta Shleshmalaihi Prayo Dushyade, and we find Abhishyandi Dravya Dadhi as example, Masha as example. And there can be many others. The Samprapti here starts as a Shobha, which I already explained, and progresses further into different branches and sub-branches of Shobha. And it can be Pradeshika in its outcome, or it can be Sarvadaihiga some other times. See, this shloka you all may be very familiar. which is from the Charaka Samhita, where we find the concluding line as Sharatkala Swabhavacha Shonidam Sampradushyati. And a big list is given. And all the items given are Tad Pitta Shleshmalaihi Prayo Dushyate. That Pitta Shleshma Dushana Nidanas. We find many. I am not going to list out everything, but this sloga is all inclusive. Such a beautiful observation. Pradushta Bahuti Shnoshna Madhyehi Anyescha Tadvidhaihi. And it goes like that. Many things we can find. Kulathamasha Nishpava Tilataila Nishevanaihi. Again, at last we find Atyadanam Tadha Krodham Manasika Bhavas. Bhajadam cha Atapanalo Chardivega Pradikadad Kalecha Anavasejanad Shramabhikhada Santabaihi Ajirna Adhyashanais Tadha Sharatkala Swabhavacha Shonidam Sampradushyati. All these are fundamentally Pitta Shleshma Dushaga Bhavas, and they all can end up in Abhishyanda. Tad Pitta Shleshmalaihi Prayo Dushyade Kurude Tataha Visarpa Vidradhi Pliha Gulma Agnisadana Jwaran Mukha Netra Shiroroga. That is what our interest is coming to Shalakya. But it is not limited to Shalakya. Mukha Netra Shiroroga Mada Trid Lavanasyataha Kushta Vatasra Pittasra Kattuamlodgirana Brahman. And interestingly, these situations, say for the first line we find Visarpa. All the concepts of Visarpa Chikitsa can be effectively used in Netra Chikitsa. Everything. All details given in Vidradhi Chikitsa you can bring to Netra Chikitsa. That is the beauty of the concept. So likewise, every Kaya Chikitsa situation, every Shalya Chikitsa situation given in this can be translated to Shalakya practice. Specifically Abhishyanda. Fundamentally, if you look at Shalakyatantra Rogas from a medical perspective, we will find n number of diseases explained by various authors. But honestly, you can find out that there are only 2 rogas in Shalakyatantra. There are only 2 rogas in the entire Shalakyatantra. One is Abhishyanda driven by Kapha and Pitta. Number 2 is Pradishyaya driven by Vayu. So all the other diseases can be some way or the other brought to the compartment of either Abhishyanda or Pradishyaya. And the concepts which are explained in Kaya Chikitsa in relation with this Kapha Pitta and Vada division can be easily brought to the practice of Shalakyatantra. We need not limit ourselves to the purview of Shalakyatantra Chikitsa. Then, any Nidana which can cause Abhishyanda and direct it towards Netra, that is important. And direct it towards Netra is a potential cause of Netra Roga. That is why we find Savaroga Nidanoktai Rahidai Kupita Malaha Achakshushyehi. That Achakshushyata is a potential factor which can drive this Samprapti to Chakshus. That is what the meaning of Achakshushya is. Any Nidana in the presence of this Achakshushya factor will be easily directed towards Chakshus. And Chakshushya is something which will prevent any Samprapti from reaching Chakshus. So the practice of Chakshushya Dravyas are prophylactic in the case of Netra Rogas. Achakshushya are the precipitating factor. Hope I am clear. The idea is clear. Yes, now, Abhishyanda. Again, this is the sloka which I wrote early in the opening slide. Prayena sarve nayanamayastu bhavanti abhishyanda nimitta moola tasmad abhishyanda nudiryamanam upajare. It is a srotas centered samprapti. This is happening in the srotas level. That is why Vakbhada in Ashtanga Sangraha makes a very categorical statement that sarva urdhva jetru srodasyandanadasyanda uchyade. It is not about netra. Sarva urdhva jetru srodasyandanadu. This senda, what the ophthalmologist is identifying in the netra, is not confined to netra. That samprapti is there all through the sarva jatrurdha srodas. That is why Kashaya dhara on the siras is going to be controlling Abhishyanda. Takra dhara in the siras is going to control the Abhishyanda. Forget about the sthana vishesha in the netra. Forget about it. Whether it is Vatma Gada, whether it is Sarva Drishti Gada, whether it is Krishna Gada, if you are sure that it is an Abhishyanda which is there behind, a Jatrurdha Seka with maybe Padola Kadrohinyadi Kashaya, Manjishtadi Kashaya is going to contain this problem. So, Sarvordhva Jatruga Srodasyandanadasyanda Uchyade. And for those who are somebody who may be interested in, our Srikant sir was saying that, okay, we need to understand the Sanskrit moolas very detailed, then only we can translate them to corresponding terminology here. See, in that shloka, we find Prayena Sarve Nayanamayastu Bhavanti Abhishyanda Nimitta Moola. Nimitta means cause, Moola means cause. So, what does it mean? Abhishyanda nimitta moola. Why two moolas or why two karanas in that sloka? We are all teaching these to our students. Prayana sarve nayanamayastu bhavanti abhishyanda nimitta moola. Suppose one student asks, what is the meaning of the two causes in the sloka? I would like to get a couple of answers from the teachers. What does it mean? Or why Sushruta uses two words which has the same meaning?
No sir, both have different meaning.
What are the difference? That is what I am asking.
Mula means root and nimitta means causes. Root causes.
Yeah, that any cause is a root cause.
Yes, it may be a root cause.
Like give me, say, how do you translate that sloka? That sloka.
Every fact.
No, that first two lines, how will you explain in your local language or English?
Regarding the causes of disease, there are one internal and
No. I am that two lines I am asking. Praya sarve nayanamayastu bhavanti abhishyanta nimitta moola. Convincingly, how will you teach these two lines to a studious scholar?
Usually all the netra diseases, astu means happens, bhavanti abhishyanda moola. Due to abhishyanda, root causes is abhishyanda.
So suppose I remove that moola from it.
Yeah.
You can still explain it like that. Abhishyanda is the root cause for all netra rogas.
Yes.
If I remove that nimitta and there is only moola, then only you can explain it like that. Isn't it?
Moola, the word moola emphasizes on the stress on the that word.
See,
Special impression. Special posting impression.
All diseases.
Yeah, I will explain. See, we learn different types of karanas in different contexts. In the very basics, we find the karanas explained into three, that samavai, asamavai and nimitta karanas. Isn't it? Here, it is not to be explained with any of those three. There is another type of moola. Say for example, doshadhadu mala moolam sada dehasya. We find such a statement. Dosha dhadu mala moolam. What is the meaning of that moolam? Here also we find one moolam. So what is the meaning of that? Dosha dhadu mala moolam sada dehasya.
Means it is base of that. Base. Root.
Yeah, that is what I mean. Root cause.
Without it, we cannot expect the existence of that. Without this, we cannot expect the existence of that. That is the root.
There, that dosha dhadu mala moolam means, in all the conventional commentaries we will find that dosha dhadu and malas are like the roots of a tree.
Yeah.
Like the roots of a tree on which it is stabilized, without which it cannot survive. But there is a problem. When we explain it in such a way, you agree that like a tree is having other parts in it other than roots, like the stems, fruits and many other things. They are known as upadana karanas. So I cannot remove any of these ingredient causes and claim that this is a pen. This becomes complete only when all the ingredients are brought together. Similarly, dosha dhadu mala moolam sada dehasya means body becomes complete with these three factors are coming together and work together. You remove one, body is incomplete. It cannot sustain. That is known as upadana karana. Here, the moola shabdam means the upadana karana. Nimitta means the normal way in which we understand the karana. That means Abhishyanda is the cause of all netra rogas, and Abhishyanda is an inevitable ingredient of all netra rogas. Abhishyanda causes all netra rogas. That forms the cause. And once that disease is formed, Abhishyanda is always there as a part of that disease. To express that idea, he uses two words which are having apparently a similar meaning. So, prayena sarve nayanamayastu bhavanti abhishyanda nimitta moola means prayena, by and large, all eye diseases are the product of Abhishyanda, and Abhishyanda is an ingredient of all netra rogas. So that way also Sushruta gives high regards for the proper understanding of Abhishyanda. That is why I spent time to explain this. That is why I told that the entire Shalakya can be divided into two diseases. The other one is Vayu driven, which is Pratishyaya. Whereas Rakta based Kapha-Pitta driven rogas are all coming under the common umbrella of Abhishyanda. They are having such a similarity of. That is why, see, in Sushruta Samhita we find the Chikitsa of Netra rogas under the heading of Abhishyandas. Vada Abhishyanda Chikitsa, Pitta Abhishyanda Chikitsa. Forget about all the individual naming of the disease. So that is Abhishyanda Chikitsa, again made Visishta by the Balavikalpa of the doshas. Every treatment is Abhishyanda Chikitsa. Now in the Abhishyanda Chikitsa, it is further divided into Vada Abhishyanda Chikitsa, Pitta Abhishyanda Chikitsa, Kapha Abhishyanda Chikitsa, like that. So Sushruta has got that broad idea how important Abhishyanda is in the causation and manifestation of netra. So this idea of Abhishyanda is very, very important. While we are talking about the netra sharira, it is going to be the crucial understanding. Okay. Now, Sushruta observes, Ushnabhitaptasya jalapraveshad durekshanaad swapna viparyayatsa prasakta samra. I am not going, this everybody knows. So, netre vikaran janayanti dosha. All these points are to be taken to understand the you can't expect all these reasons to come in a single patient. So based on the presence of these nidanas, we should understand what is the nature of the Abhishyanda and which dosha may be predominating in its manifestation. That gives a whole lot of freedom to you to come to a very precise prescription. It need not, and interestingly, you see, I do not know whether I have included it in this. Yeah, now we come to Abhishyanda Roga. But interestingly, the most important point is, we find that Rakta is destabilized. And Kapha Pitta are the factors which are playing behind it. And we should have a very thorough understanding about one important point. That point is, this Kapha Pitta Dushti is starting from Kosta. Specifically, Adhisthana. So, as Shalakis, we cannot keep the idea of Kaya Chikitsa away. As specialists, we may tend to get focused more and more on the Sthana Vishesha. Because Sthana Visheshena, speciality Vishesha. Isn't it? Sthana Visheshena, speciality Vishesha. But body never minds the NCISM department system.
Yes.
Body has got a whole understanding. So this Kapha Pitta dissemination is starting from Kosta. Experimentally, I have tried very interesting things. See, I tried to treat the so-called dry eye syndrome without even one single medicine in the eye. Even without a drop. And in majority of the cases, it succeeds. Because you see, the background of dry eye, these days especially, are very common in those who are exposed to air conditioners frequently or for a long time, those who are working with the screens. You know, the one important thing is, however safe the screen is, screen works as a source of light. Works as a source of light. And generally, the basic design of eye is to not to look at the source of the eye, but on surfaces which reflect the eye. I am seeing you because you are reflecting the light. I am seeing you because eyes are designed to see objects which are reflecting the light, not to the source of light. Whenever we are looking at the source of the light, Suryoparaganala Vidyudadi Viloganeno Upahadekshanasya, Chakshurupadhadam is happening. And when we are working on a screen, we are doing the same thing. We are looking at a source of the light for which the eyes are not meant. Then air conditioner, and most importantly, continuous sitting. While I am working on the computer, I am not walking around. Young people working for 12 hours on a screen, maybe 2 hours or 1 hour in break in between. The remaining time they are sitting. They are sitting. And this continuous sitting makes the Vayu Pratiloma. Pratiloma Vayu pushes the Pitta which need not be Kupita at all towards the Urdhva Siras. And that Pitta which is unnecessarily pushed up by the Vayu, reaching the eye, slowly manifesting as Shushkakshi and the dry eye. There the role of Pitta is nothing. Pitta is doing the Shushkata just because of its presence, not because it is Kupita. So if there are no Pitta Prakopa Nidanas added, even simple continuous sitting is enough for creating dry eye. So if the Nidana is very clear, presentation is dry eye, you need not even use a single eye drop. Focus on Vadhanulomana in the corner. And ask the patient to walk for 30 minutes every day. Take breaks in between. This one also is explained. Sharatkala Swabhavadeva, that Dushtir Bhavati. And Vakbhada observes, which I already explained. You can find a big list of diseases here. And take it as seriously that all the concepts of the treatment of those diseases can be easily adopted in Netra Chikitsa. Raktaja Vyadhi, when Rakta is Dushta by Pitta and Kapha, and a new Rakta Dosha Dushti is attached to the Dushta Rakta, and a Vyadhi manifests, such a Vyadhi in general is known as Raktaja Vyadhi. Visarpa is the best representative, and they cannot be treated by bringing Dosha Shamana. That is what we saw earlier in the sloka, this one. Rakta Abhishyanda is a product of such a Samprapti, Kupita Pitta, causing a Vyadhi in an already Pitta Kapha Dushta Rakta in Netra. That is what we call as Rakta Abhishyanda. Lakshanas I am not going to explain because everything known to everyone. Texture. Sankshepata Kriya Yogo Nidana Parivarjanam. Points to ponder. Basic changes that has happened in Rakta. Background Doshakopa. Problems with Srodhas. Pradeshika Lakshanas. Risk of loss of vision. Repair by Rasayana Chikitsa. Avoid Punaravartana by Hita Jivana. This is the roadmap. Rakta Mokshanam is very important. Rakta Vriddhi Bhavan Rogan, Rakta Sruti Virechanaihi. Then Rakta Prasadanam is important to avoid Punaravartanam. Rakta Pitta Hara Chikitsa, Shobha Hara Chikitsa, Kleda Hara Chikitsa. Teshu Sravaidum Raktam Udriktam Vedhayet Siram. Shakha Dushtetu Rudhire Raktamevadi Do Hared. Twang Mamsa Snayu Sankledo. This is a quote from Visarpa Chikitsa, not from Netra Chikitsa. Just listen to that stress given. Shakha Dushtetu Rudhire Raktamevadi Do Hared. Next. Twang Mamsa Snayu Sankledo Rakta Kledad Hi Jayade. Wherever it is. If you find Twang Mamsa Snayu Sankleda in Netra, make it a point that Rakta Kledad Hi Jayade. Ekada Sarvakarmani Rakta Mokshanam Ekataha Visarpo Na Hyasam Srishtaha Sosrapittena Jayade Raktameva Ashrayschasya Bahushosram Hare Tata. So that is why we are using lots of Jalukavacharanam type of Raktamokshanopayas in Netra Chikitsa. Adaveva Visarpeshu Hidam Lankhana Rukshanam Raktavasego Vamanam Vireka Snehanam Natu. That is why we are not able to start Netra Chikitsa with the Snehana in many of the conditions, because of the similarity with the Visarpa Samprapti. And this is going to be the fundamental principles of Abhishyanda Chikitsa as well. Yeah, with that I conclude.
डाउट सभी पूछने बोलो जिसको भी है.
If anyone has any queries related to this session, you are free to ask now.
What makes Abhishyanda is answer?
Please repeat the question.
What makes Abhishyanda is Sankramika Roga?
Sankramika.
Oh, yeah, that is it. See, this Kapha Pitta Dushti can happen by Aganduja factors as well. So in such cases, we should identify it better, precisely. That Abhishyanda has got the Aupasargika property as well. Abhishyanda evacha, the Sangramandi Narandara. So in the that comes as the cause for the Abhishyanda. When that Agandu factor is a Krimija factor is working, or another Sangramika factor is working, then this Abhishyanda also can become Sangramika. Got it? But interestingly, that Sankramika nature of the Abhishyanda even can be prevented if you have very remarkable Rakta Shuddhi. In a person where there is no Kapha-Pitta inclination towards the Rakta, he can easily escape from that nature of that Sankramana.
Sir, when we are doing Amapachan, so because Rakta and Pitta are involved,
Yes.
so if whatever drugs we are selecting, it should be Rakta and Pitta Shamak for Amapachan, like Jirakadi, Then this
Yeah, the choice may be different. In our practice, what we are doing is Tikta Pachana. We are doing Tikta Pachana like Sudarshana. Sudarshana again is in Jara Chikitsa.
yes.
So any Tikta Pachana dravyas can be used. And it should be ideally Ruksha. So Padola Kadrohinyadi Kashayam may be working, which is Pitta Slash Mahara, Tikta, Shoshana, Pachana. So the choice of the medicine may be, I think, from region to region.
Yes.
There may be. Even I think you were asking about the Sangramika nature. Once the Sangramika nature is there, what we generally do is we start using some half teaspoon of Avipatti Churnam every day at night, bedtime, with honey. So it is basically a Pitta, Kapha, Shamana Dravya and Amapajana with the Agni Devana property. So making some basic corrections in the Ahara Vihara, giving half teaspoon of Avipatti Churna at night with honey gives a reasonable good prevention for that sort of Agandu Abhishyanda. Because again the concept is same, what ma'am was saying.
So if it is a chronic disease and we want to start with Shodhan, so we have to see that, we have to give Dipan Pachan and then we have to go for Ghrita.
Yes ma'am.
Snehapan.
Yes ma'am. Because Abhishyanda in due course develops into a pilla form. So then obviously I think Puna Snehapanam, Shamanam, that Shodhanam, everything is required. Pradeshika Shodhanam is required. Sarvadaihika Shodhanam is required. And all treatments in such cases should end up in Kridapana. That is essential.
In case of mucopurulent conjunctivitis, what treatment protocol to follow or for how much day you do that?
See, in mucopurulent types of this sort of Abhishyanda, generally it is very Uttana Samprapti. Gambhirata is not there for that Samprapti. It is not very deep. So, as I was mentioning, we will first consider or first we will take care of the status of Agni. The status of Pitta and Kapha in the Koshta will be taken care of fundamentally. Again, some Avipatti Churna or Sudarshana Churna types of medicine will be immediately started. Now, as far as eye is concerned, as I mentioned, it is a very superficial Samprapti. No deep structures, no Gambhira Samprapti is operating. So, some Sthanika Kshalana Prakriya with Aschyodana is more than sufficient in most of the cases. Like we will be using this Tribhala Churnam, then Haridra, Chinchapatra Churnam, and sometimes this Nimba Churnam, Nimba Patra as Kashaya, the Kshalana Kashaya. And in my personal practice, what I use as Aschyodanam is Shigripatrarkam. Shigripatrarkam frequently, based on the conditions, sometimes every hourly or 4 or 5 times a day, something like that. And in general, we give a prophylactic approach for the other members of the family as well. Same thing. We will be doing just Tribhala Kshalanam and ask them to put this Shigrupatra Arkam at least once, twice or thrice, along with the modifications in the diet of the family. That gives really, most often it covers the entire family.
So how long it takes to cure the diseases after
Yeah. Depends on the general health. In any case, I think in 5 days it can be completely resolved. Even with the reasonably moderate general health condition. General health is always a factor in all these things.
So if there is,
So you give some oral medication to
Yes.
Yeah,
Like a Sudarshana Churnam, Avipatti Churnam. Generally, we do not for Kashayam in such cases because it should be Ruksha Pachanam, Tikta Ruksha Pachanam. So even for the sake of compromising the Rukshada, we do not use for Kvadha Kalpana. Kvadhas are there, excellent. Suppose we feel that it is not working sufficiently, we resort to Jara Chikitsa, Pitta Kapha, Jara Chikitsa. Then Kashayams like, as I mentioned earlier, Pachanamritam, Shadangam, or Padola Kadrohinyadi, all these things will go with the. Regionally in Kerala, we have got certain pills like Vettumaran Gulika. I do not know whether you are familiar with it. It's a rasa dravya. Vettumaran Gulika, which contains basically the Hingula. There is, I think in Rasa Shastra, there is a similar product. Tribhuvana Kirti Rasa? Okay, it is Vettumaran only. I think it is Vettumaran only, same ingredients. So with this Pachanamritam Kashayam, Tribhuvana Kirti Rasa. Yes, okay.
So in some case, along with the Abhishyanda, so means conjunctivitis, there is involvement of the corneal epithelium also. So in that condition, what you prescribe as a protocol?
Same treatment is enough. Same treatment is enough. But at one point, generally what happens, I'm saying the Kerala practice, this sort of viral keratitis, after an initial course of simple viral conjunctivitis, later it develop into viral keratitis, and their first choice will be rushing to the nearby allopathic hospital. And they treat it with multiple things, antiviral drops and then steroids, and the moment they stop, all those things come back. So sometimes with recurrent SPK or mild permanent corneal opacity, in that cases, now I am dealing with a case which is a herpetic keratitis. So they have tried, last 3 years they are treating with allopathy. Subsides, patient feels that okay, it is gone, in another 15 days it comes again. So now he is under my treatment. Now I am in such cases we will be going for this Netrasegam as well, considering the 3 years chronicity of the condition. Now we cannot consider the Samprapti as that Uttanam. It has reached the doshas, has got some sort of a deed, permanent deed in the area. So we have to consider it as a deep-seated Samprapti. Then even we give some extra internal medicines as well, like Kaishora Gugulu, or sometimes when the condition is in a remission, we treat it even with kritas mixed with the Rasa Sinduram. Yes, to avoid the relapse.
Even Gandhak Rasayanam.
Panchatikta Gandhak Rasayanam. I am in person, I am not using Gandhak Rasayanam much, but Rasa Sinduram I very deliberately, very liberally use. And also once the condition is under control, then we recommend, either if the opacity has become some sort of a permanent problem, we go for some anjanam, long-term anjanam, like this Mudganjanam. You have heard Mudganjanam, no? Mudgachurnam with Madhu and Shankham, which works very well with the Armam as well. So that is given. Or in some cases we even go for Tarpana. There are some special yogas called Tadaga Shukti Kridam in Kerala practice, which is working well with this sort of residual corneal opacities as part of this sort of infections.
Sir, if there is severe pain in Vadaja Abhishyanda, so what else we have to add? Like
We go for Swedana Kriya, Sthanika Swedana. We make a small pottery with the Chinja Patram or this Amalagi Patram.
Avabundan.
Swedana, Pinda Swedana, and cook this pottery with this Tushodagam, rice Tushodagam, and with that pottery we do Pradeshika Swedam. Pradeshika Swedam is the best and instant tool for pain management. 5 minutes, it will be gone. It will come again.
Again we have to do.
But we have to do it along with the parallel internal treatments.
In case of allergic conjunctivitis, what you do?
Allergic conjunctivitis treated with Krimi Chikitsa. Krimi.
So what do you follow the protocol?
Strict diet, then Krimihara Chikitsa, like based on different conditions, I will give you the list of medicines which I use. Palashaktok Vadham with Ashtachurnam. That is one option. Neeli Tulasiadi Kashayam, which is a Vishahara Aushadha. Neeli Tulasiadi Kashayam with Dushi Vishari Gulika. Padola Kadrohinyadi Kashayam with Vilvadi Gulika. These are the basic things we start initially. And to manage the local symptoms, Sweda Kriya. Chinja, Haridra, Tribhala.
Sir, do you have any book
No, bro. No, bro.
Must do, no? It's much needed.
We'll do that. Before next CME?
Yes, yes, yes.
Any other doubts if you have? Sir has one more section. So post lunch you can keep your questions ready.
Rasasinduramai, we get the dispensing doses fortunately. I think it is 25 milligrams.
125 we can give, sir? No.
No. I think it is 25 milligrams per dose. I think that's the standard dose. Adult
सिंदूर
use.
रसम
हाँ?
रस्य तो यहाँ मिलता है.
Sir, Grit and Ras Sindoor.
Yeah.
Ras Sindoor is 25 mg only.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it is 25. I can
125,
confirm
sir,
it.
because we use it here.
Yeah. Actually, we get it from our you may be knowing that Siddheshwara drugs. They make it in dispensing forms. So again and again, I do not whether it is 125, 25. Just use it.
I think 125, sir.
Thank you, Vaidhya Prasad sir, for the brilliant exposition on ambition. Your clinical wisdom and deep understanding